Yeah. This is the Legacy League. Tell me where your legacy be. Yeah.
Welcome to the Week 4 post-game show. Wait, no. The Weekly Rebound's back. What is up, everyone? Let's just get right into it. I don't want this to be professional or anything. Well, we want it to be a little professional. But we're back. The Weekly Rebound's back. Everyone can relax. You know, we've seen the tweets, all the comments. You know, the comment section on Legacy's page has been crazy recently. If you haven't checked it out, everyone's beefing with everyone. And it's not like normal team-on-team beef. It's just crazy. Oh, my God, it's insane. But probably the most commented thing I see is where is the Weekly Rebound? And now me and Connor have answered all your prayers. So we're back. Connor, how have you been?
Brother, it feels great. We're back in the saddle. I mean, this is super nostalgic. Back with my boy Greg, breaking down another week of Legacy League's action. Obviously, you know, we know the fans would love to see us. Maybe they wouldn't love to see us. Maybe they're sick of us. But nonetheless, we're back, and it feels great, and super stoked to be here. And, you know, we wish we could be there more often, but life's different than it was many years ago, Greg, when we were doing this every single week, and we can just only try to find as much time as possible to do it when we can. But nonetheless, let's get right into the action, brother.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I know what the people want, and that's us breaking down Legacy League basketball, and then we make a wrong take, and they can hit a three and yell at us while we're recording a clip. So let's get right into that. Speaking of teams that will yell at us, nah, I'm just kidding. We love both these teams, and we're getting into actually a really, really good matchup to start this week, and that was Run TMC and Get Money. I mean, they were in an absolute battle. Just an absolute battle. I mean, we saw Terrell Vargas return, and he had 25 points. Get Money couldn't really hold on here, but Connor, I'll let you kind of take the reins here. What did you see in this game, and how did TMC kind of run away with it?
I mean, the story in this matchup is the return of Terrell Vargas. You know, anybody that knows Legacy League's basketball going many years back to almost probably the origins of the league, you know, Terrell Vargas is a household name to anybody, like I said, that's familiar with, you know, the early days. And to see him back and then also wearing a Run TMC jersey, that was crazy. But it was awesome seeing him back. I know he said, you know, the last time he saw us, we were like little babies, Greg. And the same thing with him. You know, he's like a different player now. He's really filled out his frame. And but nonetheless, man, he's still an absolute monster. And you saw it in this game. You know, Terrell Vargas, first game back, 9 for 13 shooting from the field, 25 points. You know, you supplement that with Reggie Stewart, who's, you know, putting on an MVP type season so far, 28 on his own right. And Eric Singleton was phenomenal. You know, Get Money, their big guys really came through for them. You know, Tysheen had a really good game. Kyle had a really good game. Tyron was efficient, but, you know, not as active on the offensive end as you would typically see him in a marquee matchup like this. You know, I think a lot of people would expect these two teams to make deep runs in the playoffs. Get Money gets edged out in this one, just barely, you know. Get TMC, you got to give them a lot of credit, man. They hung tough and get the 7-point win. I think both teams can learn from this experience. I think, you know, TMC is going to realize, hey, we can beat some of these best teams in the league, and we are, you know, definitely deserving of being, you know, one of the top dogs. And Get Money is going to look at it like, hey, yeah, we lost a close one, but we also didn't play our best game. So I think both teams can take something away from this, and it'll be interesting to see how they each roll going forward.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And you know, this is the Weekly Rebound. Well, it's not the Weekly Rebound, but it kind of is the Weekly Rebound. And since we're back at the Weekly Rebound, I'm going to throw a little curveball. Well, not really throw a curveball, but just bring up the team stats for the year and do 3-pointers made. And I feel like Get Money as a team for the players they have, they're just not shooting that great compared to what they shot last year. And I feel like Tysheen, I mean, Kyle and those guys, I mean, I don't know what's going on. I feel for them because it's not like they're not playing good basketball. It just seems like they're having some of those games where the shots are just going in and out and they're just missing layups. And I really think that if they just kind of have one game where they can get a little momentum going, it's going to do wonders for them. And I think they're one of those teams that if they catch fire at the right time, I don't think you're going to be able to stop them. So I think for Get Money, it's something to, I mean, if we look at the standings there, I believe they're 3-1. Just keep 3-1, They're looking good. I feel like they haven't played their best basketball, and they're a top 4 team in this league. So that's something that they can kind of look in the future too and be like, you know what, we just kind of got to keep pushing. Because I agree with you, they haven't really been playing their best basketball. So we'll kind of see where they go from there. But let's go to the next game, and I mean it's another good one. There was a bunch of good basketball this weekend. You know what? We can skip this game. Let's just skip this next game. Let's move on to Snipe Squad. Back outside, boys. Yeah, all right, fine. We'll talk about it. Flint took the L to the Trailblazers in this one, 71-68. Look, it is what it is. Even Ali lost. Even Kobe lost. LeBron, Jordan. Jordan, maybe he didn't lose in the NBA. I'm sure he lost some games in the NBA. It is what it is. That's what we do. It's okay. We're taking some lumps now in Flint Nation, but we'll be back and we'll be on top soon. But in all reality, shout out to the Trailblazers. I mean, I think they're one of the fastest rising teams in this league. I mean, they look phenomenal. And Connor, I'll kind of let you take it again, but this was a great game. What'd you say?
So me and the Flint boys, we've been going back and forth all year long. They always ask me, what's the spread? What's the spread? And I keep setting them as underdogs. And all season long, they make me look like a terrible odds maker. Anybody that's been betting Flint all season with my spreads has been cashing out big money because they've been awful. Every time I call them an underdog, they go out and they kick ass. So I really got to tip my hat to them. And I put them as a big underdog in this game too. They came up to me. They said, what's the spread for this game? I think I told them, I'm giving you guys 7.5 points. And sure enough, I look up in the fourth quarter, and they were winning, man. And they were winning pretty much a majority of this game. And I think the big storyline with this particular matchup was you got no Mike Bizzuto, former MVP, and Nick Japs, who has been filling in that Mike Bizzuto role as their alpha dog on offense. He wasn't there either. So they're down, theoretically, their best 2 players. And they go out there against the Trailblazers team who have, they really revamped their lineup. They got this guy, Jaquan Bromell, who shows up, I think it was week 2 or 3. And, he's an absolute monster out there physically. And I just looked across the court from Flint, and I'm just like, I don't know how they're going to match up with these big bodies. Obviously they got Matt Sear, who was once again phenomenal on the defensive end. It's insane to see Matt just, even against guys that are bigger than him and can maybe even jump taller than he can. He does not care. He's defending the rim. He's so good at timing his blocks, and he puts his body in front of people at will and doesn't really care that he's going to take a huge hit because he'll get the block. There was actually a play where he literally fully palmed a ball on a dunk attempt, but he was blocking the shot, and somehow the ball rolled off of his hand and went in. He doesn't get credited for the block, but it was still a phenomenal defensive play. He was all over the court on defense. TJ Gianni just said, all right, boys, I know we're down some scorers tonight, but I'm going to put that load on my shoulders, and he went off for 32 points. And he made 6 threes. He had 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He was doing all these great things. And Flint Tropics, the reason why I've talked about them so far during this breakdown is it was their game the entire way. And they actually just fell apart in the last few minutes of this game. And I know Dom Migliaro was pretty upset. I think they started to get a little bit tired, and they got a little bit lackadaisical on a couple of crucial possessions down the stretch where the game was kind of still in the balance, but Flint it looked like they kind of gave up a little early. They kind of let their foot off the gas, and the Trailblazers got some easy points to seal the deal. But it was really Flint's game to lose for the majority of this matchup, and I got to give a lot of credit to the Trailblazers as well, man. Chapman and Bromell were just a dynamic duo. They went off for 45 points, and like I said, they just never gave up, and they found a way to close out late, and you got to give them credit. But I think this is a big, big sign for the Flint Tropics that they're able to compete at a high level in this league. They've been a top team since week 1, and they were kind of playing us a little bit, Greg. Week 1, when they showed up, they said, we're out of shape. We haven't played in forever. I think they downplayed us a little bit because they've come out and compete more in this year, and I'm really just stoked to see them having a lot of success. And even though they didn't get the win here, definitely I think it was a really impressive loss, if that even can be a thing. I think they definitely showed themselves, and they showed me that they are a top tier team. Even without some of their best players on the floor, they're going to scrap, and that's just the way Flint's always been. That's why I think you've always loved them as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, my love for Flint, we'll get to it later when we talk. We got some fun fun topics coming up. We have a really fun topic coming up. What player in this league could actually maybe lose to Rosinski in a one-on-one? But no, I'm just kidding. But I want to give a really quick shout out to a few players on this Trailblazers team and just the way they've revamped their lineup. We always say that when you come in this league, you're going to kind of learn really quick. It's very different on this height of hoop. And I think they kind of learned that quick. They revamped the team. They added a few guys. They kind of changed the way they did a few rotations here and there. They're kind of letting guys take a few more shots here and there, but they're still getting some great play out of guys like Brian Acevedo and Sean Sita and Jay Velez. And I really want to give the Trailblazers their credit, man. They're looking great. Flynn's looking great. And I think it's kind of what we've been talking about, off camera. It's how the depth in this league is just really unreal right now. We have from top to bottom, there's probably a clear top four, but still any day of the week, any of the teams 1 through 8 could really contend and push any of these teams really to the brink. So I'm really excited for it. I know you are too, Connor, but let's get into the next game. And again, this is a good example. If you just look at the games this week, we had 68-57 this next game. Snipe Squad took out back outside boys. And I'm really happy for Snipe Squad because Tim Case and Angela D'Amato, I just want to give them a lot of credit. They are playing phenomenal basketball. Those two are probably my favorite duo in this league to watch right now. The way they play off of each other, they're really trying to get others involved. It's not that they're just trying to gun out there, but it's just they're understanding the flow of the game, and they're seeing that their team needs someone to put the backpack on and just carry. And that's what they're doing because Tim, 12 for 23, 12 rebounds. He's just having an absolute monster season. And then Angelo is just doing his thing with the 28. I mean, he's hitting threes. And that three ball getting added to his game is going to go a long way because, the other guys, I played in this league. And, I wouldn't say I'm a Reggie Stewart. I would say I'm more comparable to a Joey Zacco. And I'd say you got to know your role. And I think the guys on their team are kind of figuring out, like, I don't got to really shoot a bunch of threes. Like, if I play around the basket, get a few rebounds, like, there's going to be times that people slack off and you get a few easy layups. Maybe you hit a mid-range shot. Like, Connor knows what I love most, and that's a little mid-range game. So I think Snipe Squad's really coming a long way. And for the back outside boys, I just think they need to keep pushing. They're finding their rhythm. They got some new faces. Just back outside boys need to keep their head up. But I really like what I see from Snipe Squad in this win. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Greg. I think if you looked at these two teams before the start of the game, I think back outside boys has much more players that are a lot more capable from top to bottom. But that top-heavy lineup of Snipe Squad, where it's Tim Case and Angelo, and they added Dom DeSimone. I think he wasn't there for me. He might have not been there for the first week or two, but he's shown up and he's been a nice force for them down low, a guy that can just kind of, control that low block on defense and get some offensive rebounds for them. He's definitely made an impact. You definitely see that. But I would have, really, once again, being a terrible odds maker so far this year, I would have set the back outside boys as a favorite. And once again, I would have gotten cooked on the spread. So shout out to Snipe Squad, man. I mean, this two-headed monster of Tim and Angelo, if they're going to shoot like that and shoot super efficiently, Angelo, 12 of 15 shooting, like, is that real? Are we playing 2K on rookie difficulty or what's going on?
He was Euro stepping. Like, it was crazy.
The lane, dude. He's just doing it all right now for this team. Tim Case has been absolutely phenomenal. He's definitely a dark horse MVP pick. This team has really surprised me. This was a huge win for them. And once again, Greg, just goes to show, like you were just mentioning in the previous matchup, how deep the league is this year. I don't think we've ever had a league that's been this competitive, from top to bottom. And you see it in a matchup where these two teams, they might be towards the bottom of the standings, but they put on an unbelievable basketball game. I think both of these teams are capable of really creating havoc for teams in the playoffs. Just because they're a lower seeded team that you might get matched up against, you might think I have an easy matchup in the first round. Nah, both these teams are tough teams. I think the back outside boys are going to be disappointed with themselves that they didn't win this one. I think it was definitely a winnable matchup. But you got to give a lot of credit to these two dogs on Snipe Squad, man. Really just carrying this team right now, like you mentioned, Greg, just doing all the dirty work on both ends of the floor. I mean, Angelo, we're looking at the 28 points. How about the 3 steals and the 2 blocks? I mean, the guy's being a force on defense as well. So as long as those guys are playing like that, Greg, it's going to be hard to stop. It's kind of like the Dallas Mavericks throughout the playoffs. I mean, when Kyrie and Luka, it's pretty top heavy at the top there, but when they're playing their best basketball, you saw what they did. They went all the way to the NBA Finals. So I kind of see a similar build there with Snipe Squad, where it's two main guys doing most of the work, but when those guys are hot, they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a big Snipe Squad fan. I like a lot of their game. And shout out Back Outside boys. Like we both said, just kind of keep pushing, keep doing your thing. You guys are on the right path for both of these teams. Head up, keep grinding. For the last game of the week, it was another another great game. This league, like I said, it's very competitive. And me and Connor are going to keep saying that. And you're going to hear it till you kind of blue in the face because it's very competitive this year. And the biggest skis found a way. If you look at that fourth quarter, don't know if that's a stat malfunction or if that's real. Not sure. But biggest skis ended up taking this one. And Connor, I'll let you take it away. What'd you say?
Greg, it's real. It's as real as it gets.
No, wow.
This was one of the greatest comebacks I've seen in Legacy League's history. I mean, obviously the context, I'm sure, Joey has a thesaurus of games he can pull back from, maybe some playoff matchups and stuff like that. But for just, off the top of my head, it's hard to envision a comeback like this. And it was a pleasure that I was actually able to sit courtside and do scoreboard for this game because, my God, man, it was such a crazy comeback. Family First had this game wrapped up. The biggest skis had their heads down for a majority of this game. The energy was not great. Their leader, Devin Serrano, was pretty down on himself. I know he didn't have his best game. But then all of a sudden, I saw his teammates picking him up. They said, "Don't worry, Dev, we got you," And you saw these guys all of a sudden going from keeping their heads down and kind of looking like this game might have been over around halftime. And then they turned it up, dude. They turned it up. They started picking each other up. The whole energy shifted. The momentum shifted. And before you knew it, this game was tight. And it got to the point, though, Greg, I honestly, biggest skis made a big jump back into this game. They got it down to 8 points. And then they kept scoring, but then every time I looked up, they were still down 8 or down 6 or then down 9. And it was they were scoring, but it felt like they weren't making up any ground. And then before you knew it, I swear, man, Miles Raymond is going to be a very underrated player when you look at this box score. You're going to look at the 3 of 7 and 12 points and think, solid game, but nothing crazy. You might think Jaden Valderrama, was the guy that really – but no, dude, Miles Raymond – he hit so many big shots. His 3 makes, I wouldn't be surprised if they all came in the fourth quarter. That 1-for-1 3-pointer, that 1-3 was a massive 3, a momentum-shifting 3 late in that game. And the key here, the 5 of 7 free throws from Miles Raymond, those 5 free throws were massive free throws with the game in the balance to tie the game, to take the lead. He had ice in the veins. He came alive late in the fourth, and he really gave them that extra energy that they needed to put them over the top. And I can tell this was a heartbreaking loss for Family First. They played really, really well. But it just felt like once Biggest Skis got that momentum going, man, it was like a freight train that they couldn't stop, and they were just begging for that clock to tick down and get the game over with. But the Biggest Skis found a way, man, and they were so amped up. And that's honestly, Greg, why we love this league so much, man. These guys, they come from work. It's a late night. They're playing some basketball. And I bet you it was the highlight of all those guys' nights winning that game the way they did. It was fun to watch. And I give credit to both teams. It was a great matchup. And like I said, one of the best comebacks I've seen in forever.
Yeah, no. Shout out to Biggest Skis for that comeback. It's pretty impressive. And I just want to give a shout out to Family First. Family really is first. I know they got a bunch of family members on the team, and Rico's my guy, and he's having a great year. They're really starting to put things together. They're probably the second most team-oriented team outside of Flint in this league, the way they play basketball, and I love to see it. So, they just got to keep their heads up. But the Biggest Skis, Jaden Valderrama is awesome, and I'm glad he's starting to drive to the hoop more because it really complements his game. I know he can shoot the 3 ball. And I'm really excited to see what the Skis can kind of bring to the table because it's like you said, Miles, he's a veteran in this league and he knows how to hit big free throws. And that's what he did, and that's what he's going to kind of continue to do going forward. Um, so shout out to the Biggest Ski, shout out to Family First. I mean, shout out to all 8 of our teams this week. I mean, look at this. I mean, this was just such a great week of Legacy League basketball. Next week we got some good ones too. I mean, just off, just what I'm seeing, back outside. These are 4 great. I mean, look, all I know is that this year, if you're the 1 seed, there's no team you're like, oh, I'm thrilled to play them. Like, that's not happening. We've had teams in the past, the gentlemen's clubs of the world, the Lighted Ups, my team, the Titans, another one of my teams, Stranger Danger with Joey and Connor and, Matt and everyone. Like, teams where it's like the better teams, I'm like, I'm not that worried. But this year, it's anyone's game. So with that being said, we're going to go on to a big award. This isn't just a midseason MVP award discussion that the Weekly Rebound's doing. This is a midseason MVP award discussion brought to you by X-Golf from Stratford. If you love golf, go golf at X-Golf from Stratford. It's a great place. I've been there and I love it. So just for the record, before the MVP discussion, Connor, just so you know, all the interns picked Reggie Stewart from Run TMC as their MVP. So we're just going to start by saying the interns went with Reggie Stewart. So just to give the interns some of their credit, because they deserve a vote too. Me and Connor were once fellow interns, so they deserve their shine. But Connor, I'll kind of let you take it away.
Yeah, it's a good way to segue me into my pick, Greg. We kind of discussed our picks before the show just so that we weren't going to pick the same guy. And I'm not going to spoil your pick, but you definitely had a very good one who I was like, dang, you kind of stole my pick there. But nonetheless, it's for me, it's Reggie Stewart as well. I got to go with the interns. Shout out the interns, man. We got some smart interns on our hands for picking a great player like Reggie Stewart, who obviously me and you are very familiar with, Greg. But, for these guys that are the interns that are new to the league, they're kind of absorbing all of this on a week-to-week basis, and they don't really know the prior history that these players have in the league and understand the pedigree that they have. So for them to kind of acknowledge, oh, wow, this guy Reggie Stewart is an MVP-type guy, yeah, he definitely is. And he's having a crazy season. Once again, Greg, 25 points per game. He's shooting 54% from the field. And then it's always crazy. I always laugh at Reggie. And it's not an anomaly for him to be averaging 8 rebounds per game, even though being one of the smallest players in the league. He just jumps so high. He can jump out of the friggin' gym, and he gets those rebounds. He soars over the top. He's always in the right position. He's such a high IQ player. And then he's averaging those 5 assists per game, too, getting his players involved. And, the 54% shooting for me, I was almost a little shocked when I saw that because I just felt like Reggie's been shooting crazy shots this season, just deep threes all over the court, step back, over contested shots. And it's like, for him to be shooting over 54% with the style of basketball that he plays is just super impressive. And then, the 25 points per game just come along with it. That's just the territory that he owns. He's always been an MVP threat every time he steps foot on the Legacy League's court. So it's really not a surprise pick. It's definitely kind of a chalky pick. I wish I could have went more sneaky, but you definitely had a very good one, Greg, and we'll let you get into that in a second. But for me, Reggie Stewart, he's just a dog, man. He's an absolute dog, and he's leading the way for Run TMC, which is a team that we're very high on right now. So for me, my midseason MVP award would be Reggie Stewart.
Yeah, no, just look at Reggie's stats right here. Look at some of his years when he, a great one that I love is, the winter 2019. He took 47 free throws. He made 40 of them. That's kind of the player Reggie is. Moment's never too big. You know what you're getting. And I always love to pull up their player pages because that tells the real story. We always talk to these interns about players like Mike Davis and players like Reggie and all this, and I don't think they realize, but then you look at this player page and you see all that Reggie's done. These guys are extremely, extremely talented, and they know how to dominate in this league.
Yeah, Hall of Fame type players for Legacy Leagues.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And, with that being said, I think we're going to get into the MVP pick that matters, and that is going to be my boys from the Flint Tropics, Nick Japs. I mean, where do I begin with Nick Japs, right? I mean, he kind of took the baton from Mike Bizzuto, and came in here and just absolutely started dominating. The way he's playing aggressive. He's not afraid to attack the hoop. He's shooting the three ball well, and he doesn't take too many threes, but he's kind of doing the nice game of every big man's got to have it where everyone knows he can hit it. So you're always going to be wary of it, and it's just something that it's going to complement his game so well because he's an absolute monster when he attacks the hole. And Nick Japs is just doing his thing. I mean, he's a champion. He's an All-Star Game MVP. He's a former Fifth Man of the Year. I mean, look at that. Like, he's someone who's been special in this league. And now with, like you said, Mike Rizzuto out, he is just someone who's really just took that role and just gone to a next level. And I'm just so happy for him. He's a great guy, and he's part of the Flint Nation. And, they're dominating. And one of the main reasons they're dominating is Nick Japs because he brings a tenacity to this team. He talks shit sometimes. He just really epitomizes what Flint basketball is, and that's a culture setter. And that's my guy, Nick Japs.
Let me say something real quick about Nick Japs. I think before week 1, the dude ran a marathon, and he showed up with you can only imagine the way his whole body was probably feeling before that matchup. And he goes out there and starts out the season and immediately solidifies himself as the alpha dog on this team. And I just have so much respect for a guy that can, put his body through that type of torture and then go out there and play in Legacy Leagues basketball at the level that he's been doing this season. If you just look at that player page, Greg, I mean, you mentioned all the awards he's won, and you're mentioning the fact right now that he could be an MVP when it's all said and done here at the end of the season. How about most improved? I mean, his best season was 17 points per game, which is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. But nonetheless, now look at him right now. He's averaging damn near 10 more points per game than his previous best season. It's just a testament to this kid's will and the fact that his teammates have, kind of chosen him to be the guy that fills in Mike's shoes. And then everyone just plays around him the way Flint does. And, they just have that chemistry that no other team in the league can replicate. And that's what makes them such a unique team. That's what makes them so fun to watch, so fun to be around. They just have an energy, or the word these kids are using nowadays, the aura. The aura around Flint is pretty insane. And it's because of guys like Nick Japs that, they're just an enjoyable team to watch. And they're just always grinding. They're always pushing for those wins. They never give up. And I think Nick is he's like you said, he just epitomizes everything that Flint represents. And I'm really happy to see him having a lot of success this season.
Yeah, no, and shout out to Reggie, shout out to Nick, and shout out to a lot of guys this year. I mean, like, there's a lot of guys that deserve praise and are having just incredible all NBA type years. So I think that's a good way to segue us into our weekly rebound mid-season all Legacy Leagues teams. I know why you're here, and I'm so happy to do this, and I'm so excited to do this year. Connor, you'll never guess why. Because now, if I don't pick a player that Brzezinski is on team with Brzezinski, I won't get a text like an hour after it's uploaded like, wait, why isn't my whole team the All Legacy League team? And I cannot wait for that. Because if it's someone else, I can't wait. I'd be glad for someone else to say that. Anyways, with that being said, the Weekly Rebound All Mid-Season Legacy Team is brought to you by the All-Star Games that I am 2-0 in. We will have a third this year. I thought it was going to be a sponsor. All right, but we'll get back. So seriously, though, let's get right back into it. Connor, I'll let you go first with your first pick for your all mid-season Legacy Leagues team. And I guess the first picks for us. You know what? I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, it's going to be – we'll keep the first picks short because they're pretty obvious. So, yeah, my first pick was going to be Reggie Stewart. I mean, there's really nothing much else to say than everything I just previously mentioned. Great player, great team, having a phenomenal season. He's definitely deserving of being in the selection for my all-first team so far through the halfway part of the Legacy League season.
Yeah, no. Shout out Reggie, man. Reggie is just a monster. And, I know he maybe heard me say a few things, about TMC, and I love that he's listening, and I know Reggie knows what I think of him as a basketball player and as a competitor, and he's really one of the best. He's always a top 5 player in this league. And he's also, people forget that there were some years he played on the Monstars and he was one of their, I think, second or third options.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still Reggie doing his thing out there. He was still averaging 20 a game, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Like, Reggie is literally just such a special player, and that's a great first pick. But my second pick, just like you said, is going to be Nick Japs from Flint. And, the reason I'm doing Nick is just like kind of we were saying about Reggie, it's just another consistent player that you know what you're going to get out of them. And shout out to my guys in Flint and Flint Nation. We here, baby. Connor, I'll let you go with the second pick because now we're going to get some other people some shine.
You said it, baby. Flint Nation. Flint Nation, stand up. DJ Gianni, man, have a hell of a season so far. He's already made 15 three-pointers so far throughout the year. He's shooting 60% from the field, averaging 19 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. And just, he's just doing it all out there for these guys. You saw last week with no Nick, no Mike, obviously, recovering from an injury. TJ said, all right, I got to be the guy this week. And TJ is perfectly fine filling in that role. I mean, obviously, we've seen Nick do it for the first few weeks, and TJ's been like the supplementary scorer behind Nick. But you see it perfectly clear as day that he can be the alpha dog on this team just as easily as Nick or Mike. He's such a capable scorer from the outside. I love his energy, man. He had an unbelievable and one last week, and he did the you're too small thing, and he riled up the other team, and it's just I love his energy, man. I just love the season that he's having. He's shooting super efficiently and just putting in the work in all the different areas that you would want to see it, whether it be passing, defense, rebound, shooting. I mean, he's just doing it all, and I think he's definitely deserving to be mentioned here at the halfway mark.
Yeah, no. TJ Gianni, like you said, look at his efficiency here. He's shooting 44% from three. He's taking 34 threes. He's shooting almost 60% from the field, and he's not a big guy. TJ's doing his thing out there. And that's kind of what we do in Flint Nation. We don't mess around, we don't fuck around. We just get the job done, and move on to the next opponent. Yeah. Anyways, to the next guy on the team that just it's gonna be the team. This is the right midseason team. Well, I guess it's not the right midseason team because we're drafting, but if our team played, I'd like my team's chances. But I'm going to go with Tim Case for my next pick. And the reason I'm going to go with Tim Case is because he's just, again, speaking of monster seasons, he's one of those players that's having one. He's an absolute, monster is a great way to describe the way he attacks the hoop because he acts like the hoop stole his girlfriend. I swear to God, I swear before every game, he's just pissed off because he comes to the I swear, I've never seen someone dunk harder. And he had the mask on last week. I don't know if you saw Connor. He had the mask on, and he was just out there for someone. And there's just something to say about a player that isn't really afraid to go at anyone. And he thinks he's the best player on the court at pretty much any time, and he usually is. And I just love his game. I just think it's so fun to watch. And I just think this Snipe Squad team is one of the most interesting teams we've had in a while in this league because they have a funny, dynamic duo who are just keep getting better and better, and Tim and Angelo. And I got Tim Case as my second pick.
Yeah, I love that pick, Greg. And I got to say, he's making a strong case for MVP. I had to throw that dad joke in there. I'm so sorry for the cringe, but Tim Case.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, he's definitely putting on a hell of a season so far. And it was funny you said he was wearing the mask last week. So shout out our intern Alan. I actually wasn't on that court while that game was going on, but Alan came up to me and goes, "Hey, did you see Tim? He was wearing a mask." I said, "Oh no, I didn't see. That's crazy." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, so I went up to him and I said, "Oh, you're like LeBron with the mask." And he looked over at Alan and he goes, "Nah, I'm like Jaylen Brown." And you know me, I'm a big Celtics fan. So when Alan told me that story, that left a special place in my heart. So shout out to Tim Case, shout out to Jaylen Brown. And yeah, I'm really happy to see Tim, a rookie in this league, just coming in and doing big things. And we have that problem going on around the league right now where we can't let players hang on the rim because these rim companies are worried that we're damaging their equipment. Well, Tim Case, you don't even have to hang on the rim. You're going to get us kicked out of InSports the way you keep dunking. I mean, he like you said, Greg, he slams that ball down with a different level of ferocity, and he's a threat out there all over the court. So shout out to Tim. For my next pick, Greg, Another guy that might get us kicked out of in sports, Jaquan Bromell, man. I mean, he's just been putting it on, man. Trailblazers, he's
Mhm.
averaging 18.6 rebounds. I mean, he showed up to legacy leagues, and the biggest problem everyone's saying is this guy is too tall to play in legacy leagues. So we had to measure him, and sure enough, he fits the requirements to play in legacy leagues. He's under 6'4", but the problem with him, I guess it's not a problem, it's more of a problem for the teams that have to guard him. His wingspan is what makes him look so gigantic out there. He's got the Victor Wembanyama type wingspan, that just it makes him so imposing on both the physical part of the game, on defense and offense. It's like, how do you block that shot? How do you get over him when you're trying to finish at the rim? It's the kid's an absolute problem. He's an athletic freak. Um, you know, I just I just can't imagine having to guard him. I only played one season in the legacy leagues, and I'm really grateful that it wasn't while he was playing, because I had a tough time guarding some of the guys in the league when we were playing, Greg. And man, I would be friggin' lunch food if I was stuck in front of him on an isolation. I mean, there's really not much you could do. So I really feel bad for the team to
Yeah.
really figure this kid out on defense, because he's an absolute animal, and I expect him to continue this strong start to his season throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, shout out to Jaquan. He's having an incredible year, and I'm excited to see what he can do going forward. And I'm going to stick with the same team with the Trailblazers. I'm going to go with same team, different player, and I'm going to go with Javon Chapman. He is just having an incredible year. He's one of those guys that I think is just getting better and better with each game. He's figuring out how to play in this league. And his 3-point ball is coming along. He's a rebounding monster. He plays like a guard. He's super efficient. He's great on the defensive end. He has great court vision. There's really not much I can say about this guy that, like, just go and look at his stats and it tells the tale. Those stats are not lying. He is doing everything and he does everything. He's one of my favorite players to watch in this league. And each game he gets better. Each game he gets more efficient. And I mean, you see here, 50% from three, 50. I mean, it's just he does it all. And this Trailblazers team is super, super exciting to me. And Javon Chapman is going to be my third pick because, just like Jaquan, I mean, that duo, they're just playing great.
Yeah, he's an animal. They call him around the league Jelly, and I'm sure he's got a reason behind the nickname. But whenever I hear the word jelly on the basketball court, I just think of Kyrie with the finger roll finishes, and he's got that finesse in his game. He's got that power in his game. He's like you said, you combine him with Jaquan, it's a two-headed monster, and they're both dominant players out there, and they're both having a hell of a season. They definitely deserving of the recognition that we're giving them right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so, with that being said, we're going to go to your next pick, Connor. Who are you going to go with
Absolutely.
for your final pick? Who's rounding out the team?
Yeah, so my final pick is, as you see on the screen here, it's going to be Kyle Davis from Get Money. I've always been a big fan of KD, and it kind of goes back to last season when he was a rookie. I saw what he was capable of. There's some highlights you can see. I think one of them was just circulating this past week on our Instagram page of this little hesitation dribble that he hit on Eddie Whitman outside on the perimeter, and then just went to the basket and just threw it down an absolute vicious dunk. And you see everybody on defense getting out of the way. You don't want to be in front of Kyle Davis. He might not look like the most physically imposing guy until you see him leap off the floor, and then next thing you know, he's like an airplane just soaring through the sky and just throwing it down on people. He's such an insane athlete. And then it went all the way up, Greg, to the the Legacy League's finals last season. Everyone's looking around. Who's your MVP? Who's your MVP prediction? For this game, blah blah blah. And a lot of the hype, was around Mike Davis, Devon Pratt, great, phenomenal basketball players that can definitely kind of overshadow a guy like Kyle Davis. But I looked at everybody and I said, my MVP pick is Kyle Davis. And what the heck went out there and happened, Greg? This kid had a game in the biggest stage of Legacy Leagues that I'll always remember. The mid-range that he was shooting that game, you could not stop him. He was getting whatever he wanted, wherever he wanted, and just phenomenal all over the court. He made big defensive plays late in the fourth quarter in that NBA final. Why do I keep saying the NBA finals? In the Legacy Leagues finals. I think because I'm a Celtics fan, so I'm still caught up in that,
Yeah.
But, I got to flex it a little bit. But no, nonetheless, man, Kyle Davis, he'd be my final pick. He's just having a hell of a season. He's 16 points per game and 4 rebounds per game. Yeah, that might not sound. That's a heck of a, he's playing great, you maybe expect a little bit more. I know Kyle is perfectly capable of scoring 20 points per game with ease, and I expect him to kind of get into that as he's playing with a new team now with Get Money. He's kind of trying to figure out his role. But nonetheless, man, he's been playing really, really well, and the 52% shooting, so he's out there, he's shooting efficiently. The three ball isn't falling for him as well as I know it could, but that's something, with more shots, with more reps, sometimes it's just a matter of getting hot, and I expect those numbers to just keep climbing as we approach the end of the season.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more with you. I love Kyle. I love his game. He's having a good year, and I expect him to just kind of improve and keep trending in the right direction. Um, Kyle Davis is a great basketball player, and he's part of a great Get Money team. And it's going to be exciting to see where they go from here. But with that being said, I got to make my last pick, huh? Got to do my last pick, and I'm going to throw a little curveball. I had someone picked. I told Connor I was going to go, and I'm going to completely change it. Classic. Weekly Rebound. We're back, right? This is classic. I'm going to go with Eric Singleton for my pick. We're going to get to honorable mentions after this, and we're going to talk about the guy I had, so don't worry about that. But I'm going to go with Eric Singleton. I just think he's having such a good year, and I think he's on a team that's having such a good year, and he's done it in big games. 17 points per game. He's not shooting the three ball that well this year, but he's playing extremely good defense, and that's something that I think doesn't get talked about a lot with Eric Singleton. He is an extremely athletic defender, and the 17 points per game, I just doesn't think really. Those 17 points are impactful points. Those are points that matter in big time moments when Run TMC needs it. He's a leader for them, and I think Eric Singleton is just having an awesome season, and he's someone who I think that going forward, Run TMC is going to need going down the stretch to just be an elite player like he is, and he's going to be rounding out my team.
Yeah, man, I love Eric, and we talked a little bit about Eric before the show went live, and I was like, wow, Eric Singleton is a guy that we can throw in the conversation here, and I shouldn't say that as like a surprise because Eric has always been an elite player in this league, but you put him on Run TMC. I mean, in recent years, Eric's been playing on phenomenal teams where he might be like the second, third option. And, when I first saw Eric, he was playing on teams where he was, head and shoulders above everybody else on his team. So we always saw him as like the alpha dog. And I always wondered how he would kind of fit into a role where he's maybe not the go-to guy in the biggest moments of these games, playing next to Reggie and stuff. But you look at him now and he's so comfortable in that role. He's been so productive. He's been so efficient, and he's like that elite two-way wing in this league that any team would love to have on their roster. He just does everything, does all the dirty work. He dives for loose balls. He's so fast. He's got insane ability, insane jumping ability. His three ball is hot and cold, and when he's hot, it makes him damn near unguardable because he can just drive by anybody. If you try to respect that shot and jump out there on the perimeter to guard the three ball, he will blow by you and throw down a dunk on your center. So he's just a problem all over the court, and I'm really happy to see him really just putting forward a great season, and definitely once again another guy deserving, and we'll see if he can continue going like that for the rest of the way, and I would expect him to.
Yeah, no, and Connor, I'll let you say a few honorable mentions. One of the honorable mentions I want to focus on is Angelo D'Amato. He was someone who I was going back and forth with. I think he easily could have been on one of our teams. He is having an incredible year. He is a really, really special player. The way he dominates out there, he's very confident. And something I love about him is he's always kind of directing. He's always kind of trying to direct traffic and just make sure the team is kind of playing as a team in a cohesive unit. And he's someone who I really, really think that Snipe Squad's going to need to just keep doing his thing, keep being a leader for those boys, because I just think got to give Angelo all his flowers. He is someone who is just tearing it up out there, and shout out to him. Connor, what about you? Who's some honorable mentions you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to highlight two quick names real quick on the back outside boys. I know this team has been kind of struggling to put up some wins in the win column so far this year, but once we were talking about it a little bit earlier, Greg, we said we'll talk about it until you're blue in the face, and you're right. The league is so deep that even a team as good as the back outside boys struggling to find wins is a testament to just how good the league has been this season. And the two guys I want to talk about on that team, Dante Hodge from the back outside boys, he's just been phenomenal, and his teammate Kyle Costner. But Dante Hodge, it reminds me of Isaiah Thomas. You can measure the height, dude. You can't measure this kid's heart. He's an absolute baller out there. He's super undersized, which you would think in a game like basketball definitely gives you a huge disadvantage in a lot of areas. But he finds a way to turn that into his advantage. His ability to stop and go, his acceleration, the top speed he can reach in transition, and he's also he can jump, man. He can jump with the best of them in this league. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's got great skills, super well rounded, and he is a player that I just really enjoy watching him. Find his way through the cracks of the defense and get to the basket. And he's got great step back. He's got a great three ball. I mean, he's a very versatile player. And his teammate Kyle Costner, you can just see that he feeds off of that energy as well. He's having a really good season for himself as well. He's really he's kind of like that spot up shooter that you can't leave open. He makes a lot of shots and super good footwork. He can get to the basket very efficiently as well, and got a good floater. He finds mismatches in the post down low. He's got a really good turnaround hook. Just really, really quality players on this team that I think if they can just get it going, you won't be surprised to see that this team gets hot and makes a run in the playoffs. So definitely a team to keep an eye on. Two names that I think we should keep an eye out for. So some honorable mentions there that maybe didn't make the list here, but we see what you guys are doing. Keep putting in that work, and we only see high hopes for you guys going forward.
Yeah, no, and speaking of high hopes going forward, first of all, shout out on the screen while we were talking. It was our team, so shout out our teams, two great teams, and I'm sure maybe Joey will post it, or he's going to post this post game show / podcast, so you guys can take a look at that and debate amongst yourselves. But mainly going forward, we have that kind of that led me into something I wanted to talk about, and we were talking about how this league probably has a top 4 right now, and I'm going to bring the standings up right quick. Let's look at the standings. Let's look. We got the Glazers, we got Get Money, we got Flynn, and we got TMC, and I think everyone would agree that's probably the top 3 in this league right now. But then we got Ski, Snipe, Family, and BOB, and I don't know. You know what, BOB. I'm not feeling the BOB. I don't think Back Outside Boys want the BOB nickname. But anyways, Connor, I'm going to ask you first, and then, I'm going to go with mine. But who is your sleeper team outside the top 4 right now, which in the power rankings and in the standings, in no order, I don't know what the power rankings order was, but I'm just reading it as the standings go. Glazers, Get Money, Flint, TMC. Outside those 4, who is your sleeper?
Yeah, and it's kind of going to be a little redundant because I just talked about the Back Outside Boys, but that would be my pick, the sleeper pick. I know it'd be the easiest team to not pick because they haven't picked up a win yet. It's insane. If you look at their schedule, I mean, they've only lost 1 game by double digits, and it was their previous loss against Snipe Squad, which I think was probably their most winnable game so far on the schedule for them. And they lost by 11 points. But every other loss has been within single digits. They've hung tough with every team they've played. They have really good athletes, and I think they're just struggling to find ways to close these games. They kind of go back and forth, and they're in it to the very end, and then the next thing you know, they can't find a way to close the game. They have I think with some teams you find, like, if you don't have a guy that's your designated closer, your designated go-to guy, it could be a disadvantage. I think in their case, they have some really capable players, and they just can't figure out who's going to be the guy that they can go to in these clutch situations. And I think that's something that comes with experience in this league, and something that with the repetition that they'll continue to get, they'll just get better and better. I'm not giving up on these guys. I think people that are sleeping on them would be making a mistake. And I have high hopes, like I said, for these guys. And it's those 2 players I just mentioned that I think could really catapult them to a hot second half. So the fact that they haven't gotten a win yet is crazy to me. That really was like eye-opening when I saw that when we were going over the teams, because it feels like they have won. It feels like they've played a good enough schedule so far to the point where they might have a couple wins under their belt. Hasn't happened yet, but definitely keep your eye on that team. I think they definitely have some high potential for the second half of the season.
I like that pick. I'm going to be going with Family First. I think Family First is kind of very similar to the Back Outside Boys. Like you said, they play a lot of close games. I think they're very team-oriented. They remind me of they just play the kind of Flint Moose basketball of work the ball around, find the best shot. Like, And Rico's really playing well. I think Rico's a very, very underrated player in this league. And they just got guys on that team that know how to ball. They know how to attack some teams' weaknesses. They got a lot of experience. And, Rico knows how to play in this league now. He's seen this game. He's played great in the All-Star game for my team. And I trust him going forward. I trust this family first team. I just really think they're just kind of putting it all together. And, these teams we're picking, they might not win the finals, but they could make some noise and make a run. And they're not going to be an easy out regardless. And I think that's something that, again, common theme this podcast is going to be how deep this league is. So shout out to the Back Outside boys and shout out to Family First. But the big question is here. Connor, who is your finals pick as of now, week 4? It's subject to change because the bracket will come out, and we'll make our real picks. But as of now, who is your finals pick?
All right, so I like the way you framed the question, how it's like up to this point, who would you pick? And I haven't been on any of the post-game shows yet, so I really haven't had the ability to go live or publicly talk about the team that I would have chosen before week 1 even started. So my preseason prediction for who would have won the finals this season would have been Get Money. And I feel like I'd be a fraud if I just changed up now and switched up and picked somebody else. The Flint Tropics are definitely a team that has kind of really, in my opinion, kind of overwhelmed me with how good they've been playing. But for me, Get Money would be the team I'm going to stick with, man. I can't switch up. I really like the addition to Kyle Davis. They made the finals last season, and they lost a very good game to Yaga, who was a powerhouse all season long. So I think Get Money, adding Kyle Davis, Greg, the thing I really kind of want to talk about was they remind me of the Golden State Warriors the year after they added Kevin Durant in the offseason. So that was obviously, if I'm remembering this correctly, the Warriors had just put up the best regular season in the history of the NBA. And then they add Kevin Durant. And it's kind of funny how Get Money adds KD, right? So they both added KD. And then that next season, they didn't win as many games in the regular season as they did the previous year when their roster was technically not as good. I mean, you add Kevin Durant and you win less games in the regular season. And I remember kind of some of the people were wondering, like, did Kevin Durant kind of screw up the system here? They just had such a great system in place. The Warriors roster designed by Bob Myers, they had the great shooters, the great defenders. It was a very well-constructed roster, and you kind of wondered if a guy like Kevin Durant would disrupt any of that. And, there were some questions there until the playoffs came around, and Kevin Durant just went absolutely bonkers and won 2 finals MVPs in a row. It's like, I think Kyle Davis and this Get Money team right now are in that figuring out phase where you add an explosive player to an already dynamic roster, and you're kind of figuring out as the season's going along the best way to get the most out of all these guys. And a sleeper player on this team, Greg, that I don't think is talked enough is we talk about Tyron McRae, we talk about Tysheem McRae, we talk about Kyle Davis a lot. Xavier McRae, man, the X-Man, he has been so sneaky, man. He goes out there, he does not demand the ball in terms of his offensive production, but you will see him set plays up. He is a great ball handler. He always sprints back on defense. He has some unbelievable passes, man. He will break down the defender and do a behind-the-back pass to a wide-open guy at the basket or find some open shooter in the corner. Very high IQ guy. I think he's a glue guy for this team. Antoine Coles, another solid player. Trevon Armstrong's a big body. They got some, Tarek McCall, another one that is just, a good lengthy defender for this team. They got a lot of great players, Greg. They were in the finals last season for a reason. You add a Kyle Davis. It's hard for me to switch up on them. There's definitely some unbelievable teams as well. Run TMC, Flint Tropics, and it's a stacked roster for all these teams this year that are going to try to make a playoff push. And it's tough to make a pick here, but like I said, I picked them in the start of the season. I would have felt bad if I switched up on them now. So I'm going to go with Get Money here to win the finals and just see if maybe they figure it out in the playoffs the same way the Golden State Warriors did.
Yeah, no, great pick. And I agree with you. There's a lot of ways you can go with this question. There's a lot of good teams in this league. Shout out to Get Money. Shout out to TMC. Shout out to, Glazers, Skis, all those other teams. Shout out for coming out and trying. But it's a Flint Tropics nation. You guys are living it. It's crazy you think I'm picking any other team than Flint. Let me get this straight. Let's get started. I don't got any Hennessy on me. I'm no more Hennessy for me. I've grown up 28. I'm a man. I guess Hennessy's an adult drink. Whatever. You know what? Look, what we do in Flint Nation is this. We're gonna have a crazy year. It's gonna be up and down. It's not easy. Like me and Connor have been saying. It's like a gladiator fight. You're gonna take some hits there and there. You're gonna might get stabbed in the appendix, but it's not the heart. And you know who's gonna stab in the heart? The Flint Tropics. We're gonna stab you in the heart and rip your eyes out and steal your wife. And that's what we do over here in Flint Nation. But in all reality, I think the Flint Tropics are playing some great basketball. Nick Japs is really attacking down low, and I just think Flint knows how to win in this league. Even if the crazy reality if Flint doesn't win, they'll be competitive and they'll be fighting till their last breath because that's what really Flint does. Dom's playing great. TJ's playing phenomenal. Nick's playing good. Matt Sear, like you said, is a defensive freak. Tyler's doing his thing out there. Ryan Cadge hits big shots. I mean, Cody, I could go on and on about this team and just they're team basketball oriented. They make the right play. They play good defense. They understand how to play Legacy Leagues basketball. And that is what we do in Flint Nation, baby. Like Jackie Moon said, I don't know.
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs for fourth place.
Corn dogs, man. And I love this team on and off the court. It's man, like anybody that grew up with a close group of friends playing basketball in the backyard, you watch the Flint Tropics play and they bring back all that good nostalgia, man. They play like, they play like they've been playing their whole lives together because they have been playing together for pretty much, I'm sure, their youth days, and you can just tell that chemistry out there is, like I said earlier in the pod, you can't replicate it. You can't fake that. It's so real. They're such good guys on and off the court, and it's a team that is just so built around that family vibe, and it's great to have that, but that doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to translate to wins. But the way that these guys play, it does translate to wins. They're all great athletes, and they're champions, man, all of them. You can't forget that. These guys, the last time they played in the Legacy Leagues, they were champions. And, yeah, they had an MVP, Mike Bizzuto, who is obviously recovering from an injury that he had during the offseason of Legacy, and we wish him nothing but the best in his recovery, and we can only hope that he can maybe make an appearance, maybe he won't. I know that the guys have said, it's kind of up in the air at this point, but he's a phenomenal player. We hope to see him back. This team is great. These guys are just all good dudes, and I love the pick, Greg. And, of course, you get to pick them. I can't. You get to pick Nick Japs for MVP, and I can't. So I'm always the guy. I'm always the bad guy.
You took TJ.
I got TJ. But, Flint boys know, man. It's nothing but love for me over here, and I hope that they can continue the season that they've been having. They've been nothing but impressive.
Yeah, no, again, shout out my boys Flint Tropics. But shout out everyone in this league. Seriously, me and Connor just want to give everyone a shout out for just how great y'all have been. It's been a competitive league, and it's going to be a crazy competitive race to the finish. I mean, hey, Connor, got anything before we get out of here?
Man, like you said, Greg, I think summer seasons are just always the best, and it's just been such a good vibe so far this year. We just want to keep seeing that. These teams have been showing up, bringing energy every single week, and it's been super exciting. Every matchup, it feels like it could go to any team, and a great start to our year, and we cannot wait for the finish.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more for Connor. For me, it's me, Greg. You guys know us. You know us well. That's the Weekly Rebound. That's what we do. We came, we saw, we conquered. That's how we do it. Shout out to the Celtics for winning the NBA championship. Shout out to Connor. Shout out some of our interns. I know they're loving it too. And that's what we kind of do here at Legacy Leagues. We win championships. So we're excited to see who ends up taking the summer 2024 championship home. For me, Greg, Connor, thank you, everyone. It's been real.
See you later, guys.